Client confidentiality, the number one rule for solicitors. As said, client confidentiality is key, meaning it's important that your colleagues know that information should not be volunteered in relation to a client. Now, as the SRA, the Solicitors Regulation Authority, puts it, quite frankly, solicitors must keep the affairs of current and former clients confidential unless disclosure is required or permitted by law or the client consents. Now, this brings me on to paragraph 2.5 of the SRA Code of Conduct for Solicitors. Now, that states, as a solicitor, you must comply with court orders which place obligations on you. And as I explained earlier, the exact reference is actually 6.3 SRA Code of Conduct for Solicitors, which says, of course, you must keep the affairs of current and former clients confidential, and as I said earlier, unless disclosure is required or permitted by law or the client consents. Now, you need to understand the obligation of confidentiality, and this would extend to all matters revealed by you by a client. So, what to do when you get a notice or an order? Okay. Well, first things first, you need to get the files ready, whether they are in storage or perhaps you need to submit a request through IT function to obtain from archives, wherever it may well be. And then, of course, they need to be reviewed. Now, as I said, the COLP would be the best person or in the best position to review the file with perhaps assistance from, yourself if you're the relevant fee earner, or any other compliance team members. And when reviewing, consider doing so with a fine-tooth comb, And when doing so, consider whether there is anything on the file that causes you to know or suspect money laundering, and whether you need to now follow the escalation procedure and make an internal SAR or even a SAR to the NCA. And of course, the SAR to the NCA would be a matter for the nominated officer or the firm's MLRO to do, if that person's not yourself, of course. And when reviewing the file, you should consider whether certain documents subject to disclosure, whether there are any confidentiality issues or legal professional privilege issues. I spoke at length earlier that you need to consider whether you're still acting in the best interests of your client. And you, of course, would always need to consider whether there's now any conflict and whether you're still able to act or not. So always have that at the forefront of your mind